Alright guys, I wanted to, before we continue on with the next phase of this project for the Colorado, I wanted to do a quick overview as it is, how I ran the 978, all the parts in it, end to end, because I don't think I've done that. If I did, it's probably been a long time, and I've changed many things either out of failure or just for fun, or a combination of both, to where it is now. And then I'd like to make maybe another video where I go over like the history of building the whole thing. You can let me know if you're interested in seeing that. I think I'll do like a slideshow of all the pictures I have and maybe some video clips in it, and try to go through it as fast as possible, or should I explain it as the lengthiest explanation possible so you get all the details? That's up to you guys. But as is right now, this is a 2004 GMC Sierra van 6-liter with, it was pulled with 248,000 miles on it, and that's not a lie. I have the video of the odometer of it running in the van, and it has like a, I'm not even sure the year of the 80E, I honestly can't remember. It's like a 02 4L80E that had 140K on it. But anyway, the long block intake to oil pan on the inside of the motor is completely stock with the exception of two things, and that is Little John Motorsports Stage 2 turbo camshaft and Brian Tooley Racing Platinum kit, like the 660 double spring. That's it. Those are the only aftermarket parts in the engine itself. Unbelievably so. It has stock reused head bolts and stock reused head gaskets. It's had a majority of this build. At one point I put new head gaskets in, but then they became used because I took it apart again. And it does have rods from another motor, and it does have rings from another motor, and the rings are opened up, but they are all stock pieces out of the same or similar year engine. Anyway, moving on, it has the stock truck accessories, so it has stock truck water pump, stock truck power steering, alternator, and it has billet aftermarket rails. I think they're China, or I don't know if they're a name brand or not. It has a regulator, it has dash 10 feed, 6 return, so 5/8 feed, 3/8 return, and I'm running triple Walbro 450s in the tank. And after that, it has, after the engine, it has a Jake's triple billet torque converter lockup, and it has a drive shaft made from a man that watches my videos on YouTube. He'd like to remain anonymous. His name's Dave. He made me the drive shaft just for fun. He asked when I started building this if he could make me a drive shaft, and I have trouble accepting that, but I said, okay, well, what the hell, that'll be awesome. So he made me a drive shaft. Incredible, it's been in this whole time problem-free, not so much as a vibration. Anyway, it has a solid rear axle out of a Ford Explorer that has been cut down because the Ford Explorer has an offset rear. One side's longer than the other. So what we did was, to fit under the back of this, we do it in cars too, you can do this in cars, you can cut 3 inches out of the one side, weld the tubes back together, and put 2 short stock axles in, and then you have a slightly shorter, very beefy stock axle. So it's literally a Ford Explorer rear. It was cut down slightly. Stock brakes, stock 373 ratios, stock limited slip, they call it a track lock, Ford calls it that. It's literally all stock stuff. And you can, I have videos where it shows me building the rear and hammering it together with an impact gun with reckless abandon. Same as the engine. They are available, and that's the engine and rear that's still in the truck to this day. No problems with the rear anyway. I did break the motor quite a bit with fuel delivery issues, which is why at this point with E85 and as much power as I'm making, I have the triple pumps, and I went to excessive feed, aftermarket rails, and I split. But anyway, I'm running off on a tangent here. It has a hot side built by my buddy Corey Johnson in Texas. He reached out and was like, hey, I build you a turbo kit if you're gonna do a Colorado, and I said sure. I don't like building turbo kits. I have done many, they have been effective. It's not my strong point, fitting pipes, and so I just paid him to do an entire kit, and I just bolted it in here. And I can't say enough good about it because if you watch these videos, I have had the turbo kit out 100 times, and I have had no issues bolting it right back in. Nothing has warped. The V-bands are all good. Everything, it just keeps going back in. So that works awesome. And then the turbo is a prototype. It's not even the actual one you buy now. It looks way nicer. This is a prototype VS Racing. I call it the C480, but it's a S480. It's a billet S480 clone that Varen makes. And this is a 8088 T6. So it has an 80 compressor and an 88 turbine on the small side on a T6 footprint. He has more stuff available now. He has like T4 and everything else, but this is the 8086 and T6. And then it has a VS Racing wastegate welded to the turbine, and after I started making huge power, I was overrunning one wastegate, so we put another down here. I have another Chinese 38mm gate. Both of those are on the turbine housing. And then it goes into some 3-inch piping that a combination of my buddy Joey Fowler and Mike Diano put on here. Mike Diano did the wastegates on the turbine. He's a professional welder, so I had him do it. I could have probably tried it, but I thought it'd be more fun to have someone with real skill do it and then give it, run it through the ringer. Because if I welded it on like shit and it fell off, everyone would say, you know, it's not possible, and it would just be my inadequacies showing through. Anyway, I have a VS Racing intercooler, which is like the size of a ham sandwich. People recently made endless comments about my inlet temperatures being high on the 970 pass, which is true. The intercooler is literally like this big, and it's vertical. It feeds in the top, and then it goes across, and then it comes out the top again. And then it has bends all over. And then I do actually have a VS Racing blow-off valve. I'm normally totally against them, and normally I never install them, but someone sent me one for free, and I thought it would be rude to not install it, so I did. And that is in, and it is functional, and it works. There's still a massive amount of compressor surge and decel, which is normal, but you know, that's up to you. If you want one, I don't care. People are gonna go nuts about that. The other part of it is it has completely stock coils and wires from trucks. These things are not new. I can point it out in the engine bay that the plug wires are not new. The only thing it has is spark plugs, NGK BR7 EF in there, and to top all that off, I have a nice hood exit, and I got an exhaust ring from my buddy at Monkey Fab. Created the exhaust ring for me with the sloppy logo etched into it. I don't know, I think he might use a laser to just engrave it. And then Nitrous Outlet reached out to me and said they would love to sponsor me with a nitrous kit, so I put that on, and that's when I sprayed it up over 1,000, and that works awesome. The plate kit, I'm using it not totally as they intended. It's a wet plate, and I'm using it as a double dry kit. And then it has a stock GM ethanol content sensor, and everything else is in the stock location. It even has the ABS block. I thought it would take too long. I've done it before, delete ABS blocks out of cars, and you just have to fuck with brake lines so long. I just left it in. And on top of that, it has the stock Colorado Rad. It has a Ford 2-speed fan in it, like the one I like to use, the Cougar one or the Taurus or whatever you want to call it. It has a high and a low, and the ECU is turning on the low, and I have a manual switch to turn on the high, and I have an 80 amp golf cart relay on that. Other than that, it is running on a Holley Dominator, like complete kit with a 3.5-inch touchscreen. And I have a video of me comparing. I most often always do Megasport cars, but I feel like I had zero Holley experience, so I would like to try it myself, since I'm like, it's expensive. It's way more expensive than the Megasport products. And I was just wondering like how well it works. And it does work very good, but it is expensive. If you're building a car on a budget, the Holley is easily going to eat up $3 grand of that if you're doing ADE and everything else. So that's one thing you have to consider. That's quite a chunk out of your budget if you're, you know, but it does work very well. I like them both, honestly. They all have their reasons, and like I said, I have a video where I go over all of the intricacies of that and what I like about one and what I think the other one is missing, and you know, they both have good and bad. Anyway, when I took it to the track the other night, I set it up on what I thought would be a conservative 800-ish to the tire, and it was a Friday night, so I foot braked it lightly out of boost and let it eat, and I set up a boost ramp because I can run 4 pounds on wastegate, and I have a 3-port controller, and I could probably make 30 pounds. I easily made 26, and I wasn't out of duty cycle on my boost controller. So we always joke about there being more left in it, but there is a little bit left in this. I think I could probably leave more aggressively, ramp my boost in and go 950 at 150 on turbo only. And then I have nitrous I'm not even using on top of that. It's just, I have to weigh in, this thing's 3,900 pounds almost. Will it survive an entire pass down the track with that kind of aggressiveness? The gears won't make it, so I'd have to re-gear it. And then when I re-gear it, will it leave as good? Because it leaves pretty easily right now. It easily cuts that 1.6. I could have left much harder. It would have left, you know, on a 1.50. Anyway, I think it would be fun. I don't know if I'll get the chance, but it would be neat to give it a little whiff out of the hole of nitrous and run 8th mile like 90% on kill and see if it makes it and goes like 590 in the 8th. That would be incredible. Other than that, I can't really think of much else that's done. It has traction bars. It's completely stock under there. It's completely stock. Shocks, leaf spring, everything. There's nothing funny going on other than some homemade, what do you want to call those? Caltrax? Not Caltrac. It's just the bar that goes on the bottom of the leaf spring that stops the spring from wrapping. Someone made me those homemade, shipped them to me. I paid him and bolted them in, and you have to cut the spring a little. The back spring hits the bar. So other than having those traction bars, it is completely stock underneath. The front end is stock. It has the stock everything. Just the exception of obviously Explorer brakes. The stock rear had drums. Other than that, there's not a whole lot else I can go over, I don't think. Everything else is like normal Colorado stuff. But that's like the entire overview of the truck as it went 970 the other day. I was on 75% alcohol content. I only used about 50% of my injector duty cycle, and I was still targeting like a 1070, 1080 air fuel, pretty rich. So using a lot of injector with a fairly rich air fuel. And like I said, I can move around my base and play with those numbers a little bit, but I'm just happy I had fuel pressure all the way down the track. I might get to run it again, I don't know. All I really wanted was a high 9 out of it, which I knew it would do easily, so I pretty much was happy with that. I feel like I built a lot of cars, so I know I can do better, and I'd like to do better, but at this point, I'm pretty much ready to call it with this project, and I'd like to do I made a video about like what to buy, budget build, and I'm showing people how to do that, and I built this. And it's funny, at a certain point, I believe I spent too much on this, but I wanted to reach that 1,000 horsepower goal and some other stuff and see and learn and see the limits of these 210s and see how they work. And you could drive this thing every day. I drove it like almost 4.5 hours total on the way to the track and back, and idling and picking up things and just driving all over the place. Zero issues with the injectors. Everything was good. I mean, I had tons of trouble with those 160s that I tell people not to buy. Those have no issues at all. I'm really impressed with how fast it went with only 50% duty cycle on 75% ethanol. And all of that other stuff. I'm pretty impressed with what triple Walbro 450s will do at the cost of some amperage draw, but what I like is that it's in the tank and I can just use the stock filler neck. Some people say like, man, isn't this car scary at speed? Unbelievably, I think, well, this is the newest car that I've built. I don't know if you guys, I mean, I had a G8 with a blower, but as far as fast things, they weren't supposed to be fast. You know, this takes the cake. It's just like a little utility truck, and it has no special alignment or anything, and it easily went 143. There was zero. If you watch the video, just look at the steering wheel. I probably didn't even need to touch the steering wheel. Incredible. Slows down good. It takes speed like a champ. It didn't even feel like it was going 143. I don't know if I am just that jaded after this much time, or it just went straight as an arrow. And you can watch the video. It looks very uneventful and not dramatic at all, because it's just working really well, surprisingly. This in totally stock form. You know, had no problem steering and stopping from 140 some trap. other than that, people are like, yeah, isn't it sketchy? No, not at all. Like, at least I don't think so. I think it handles itself really well, and if you laugh at that, you just have to watch the in-car. It has zero issues going that fast. It handles it extremely well. Other than that, I really like this turbo. This is incredible. I have been talking to Varen for years, like, dude, we need to get, as soon as I found out the turbine is pretty much what dictates power on one of these V8 cars, I'm like, we need T6, we need T6, we need T6. And he was working on it that whole time, but this is, you know, incredible that these are out now. They work awesome. I'm very happy with it. He's got to be extremely happy with it. Super capable, cheap turbo, you know, much cheaper than other things you can get in comparison with the horsepower capability, all of the above. And if there's, I'm not sure if, I mean, everything else is stock. I can't think of anything else really to go over. If you guys have any questions about what's in it, I think I covered everything. Otherwise, it's all stock parts. It's pretty incredible how far it's gone and how well it's done. And at this point, you know, I would do a burnout on this thing until the tires explode and not worry about it. And I would drive it 8 hours away and not worry about it, other than maybe you'll die from breathing exhaust fumes in the passenger window all day. And everything has proven really reliable, and I learned so much pushing this. But the next goal is, I'm going to call it Project Don't Bullshit Me, which is I have a 4.8, and I'm going to make another video right after this and show the 4.8 and everything else. And I'm going to put everything in this truck that I tell people to put in and actually show how well it works, instead of just telling people to do it and people wondering why, you know, I have this when I'm telling people to buy budget stuff. So we're just going to cover all that. It'll be easy and it'll be fun, and I'm looking forward to doing that after trying really hard with this and, you know, eventually reaching the goal. So if you have any questions for the Colorado before it dies, I would like to, not dies, but it ends as we know it. It's still going to get a turbo LS motor, and I'm going to change a few things. I would like to get a few of my friends to drive this and their reactions, and like maybe my dad, if he would ever drive it. He never drives anything I own. He doesn't want to. He has no interest in it. It would be awesome to have him drive it, and some other people, and my buddy AJ that's driven a bunch of my projects, just get what they think of it, and some videos like that. I think it would be fun, because I think a lot of times with me driving it, you get an expected result, obviously, or I'm like, it makes 600 tire, I'm like, oh, this is okay, like it feels normal. For someone else, it might be like, holy shit, this is ridiculous. So let me know your thoughts on all that bullshit, and I'm gonna make a video soon for the creation of the 4.8 turbo stock computer, what I have figured out. And then I have goodies on the way from VS Racing, so when I get those, I'll open it all up and show you guys what the plan is. But it's pretty much what I discussed on the Sloppy Mechanics Facebook page and the public page, where we chose turbos and everything else, and I went through the details. But again, that'll be another video. So thanks for watching this one. Let me know if you have any questions or anything on this guy as is. That's it.